Hello everyone, it's your bug. Hello everyone, it's your bud. Today we will be talking about the insectoid races in Dungeons and Dragons. That's right, we're talking about bug people, beetle people, or whatever you want to call them. Now, there are a number of monsters in Dungeons and Dragons, and over the years they have taken many forms. And so I'm sure that there are specific bug monsters that you can reskin as playable races that I do not know about. I only have one day to make this video, so I cannot look up every bug monster that exists in D&D. So I will be mostly talking about the 5th edition and the certain monsters that I am aware of. So to start, the bugs in D&D that I know of are the Ettercap, a spider-like humanoid with 2 arms and 2 legs and a pincer mouth. The Drider, a malformed drow with the lower half of a spider. I know it doesn't really count. And third, an Ankeg, a giant mantis-looking thing that's similar to the bugs from Starship Troopers. Aside from that, I don't know about any other larger bugs. However, I've always thought there was a place for insectoids in Dungeons and Dragons, like the Formix from Ender's Game, the insect pilots from Andromeda, or the Moth people from Destiny, or so many more. I probably won't be able to think of all the types of bugs that should exist in D&D, so feel free to use your imagination to come up with anything. Grasshopper people like Hopper from Bug's Life, the tribe of Bronze from Heroic Age, Mothra from Godzilla, or any of the other insects from Kong Skull Island. Imagine mosquito people who use blood magic, fireflies who use light magic, or underwater bugs that build empires in the deep. I don't know if you're aware, but in real life there are sea spiders. That's right, giant fucking spiders that walk along the sea floor. They're huge. They are arthropods that live on the sea floor and gross me the fuck out. There used to be sea scorpions over 1 meter long in prehistory. And all the worst monsters in D&D don't hold a candle to the real forms that insects have taken in our own world and history, including things like wasps laying its eggs inside another being and having the children eat their way out, or something like a locust or cicada that spawn in giant groups every 13 years or 7 years or whatever odd number, emerging at once in massive numbers for protection and safety. Depending on the type of bug, they could be a proud civilization or society, or they could be seen as hordes to be defended against. I could imagine the locusts being seen as like orcs or something, never getting more technologically proficient because of their life cycle and lack of teaching, operating on pure instinct, while other races of insectoids may be noble and cherished allies who are as keen on the ways of magic as any other. If we take our cicada example and imagine a horde of, let's say, dark magic using cicadas or locusts that rise up in hordes, they would be more akin to zombies. But any type of bug can be changed by any magic you desire. So they could be flame locusts or cicadas or lightning bugs. Yeah, I guess lightning bugs and fireflies could be much more literal, housing that magic within them. I also think a race of bee people would be cool, with a queen and warriors and a big castle that's the hive, a honey kingdom, or rather a queendom. I think bee or wasp people would be very interesting. Or that of ant people, as ants even grow gardens in reality, so I could imagine ants being good at growing and having a connection to the natural world. Some ants grow fungus and things like that, and even move around little other bugs to farm it and clean it up for them. It's really cool. Another great thing about insects is their strength. The leafcutter ant can hold 50 times its body weight in its teeth. But compared to the real strong ones, ants are little weaklings. Google says the strongest bug proportionately is the dung beetle, the horned dung beetle, which can lift up to 1,141 times its own body weight, which is the equivalent of a human carrying 180,000 pounds. Holy shit. So insectoids that are larger than people would have proportionately larger strength, putting most horrifying monsters to shame in D&D. Actually, never mind playable races, I think I'd like a flying ant as a mount. I can't find out how much bugs can carry when flying, but I assume it's nowhere near as good. And I just actually saw the dung beetle's stats again, except written differently this time. It says the horned dung beetle can lift so much that it's equivalent to a 150-pound human lifting 6 full double-decker buses. That does not seem right. 6 full double-decker buses. But that's the strength possible by a humanoid-sized horned dung beetle that would weigh about 150 pounds. So imagine a dung beetle that's even larger and what the strength they could accomplish would be. So while not all insects have strength, I mean, I'm pretty sure the fireflies would be nowhere near as strong, the largest beetle in the world is the Titan beetle, which I just learned we've never even seen its larvae. We've never even seen its larva ever. So the largest beetle in the world, we've never even seen its larva. So imagine like how hidden these societies and civilizations could be. They could have parts of their civilization or society be so secret to others that outsiders may not even be aware. The larvae of the Titan beetle are thought to eat decaying trees that are underground, and boreholes over 2 inches wide and perhaps as much as a foot long have been discovered. Thank you, Wikipedia, for that wonderful phrased thing. Perhaps as much as a foot long? I mean, I don't know. But the pupae have never been found of the largest beetle on Earth, that's just absurd to me. So imagine like what these societies could actually hide from others if in reality we still haven't even found the Titan beetle's pupae. The Titan beetle's pupa, larva, whatever. Also, when the Titan beetle grows into an adult, it no longer eats, only searching for a mate, which is pretty cool. Which is the perfect segue into the Moth people of Destiny. The biggest disappointment in the game, or rather, it's the disappointment that they never made it to the game. I would have loved to see what they came up with, especially for weapons and supers, but anyways, I'm now going to read you the description of the Moth people from Destinypedia, and they actually do have descriptions of the supers and weapons and things. Heterocera are born from carnivorous larvae that must supply itself with fresh meat in order to survive and grow. Armed with venomous pincers and equipped with 3 pairs of stubby, robust legs, they capture, kill, and store their prey in their own personal chambers, where they are preserved for future consumption. I cannot say the word larva. Larvae. It's got the E on the end, it just keeps getting to me. Larvae must consume at least 10 years worth of food, after which they will lay dormant for 20 years more to soak up the nutrients. The more the larva has eaten, the larger they will become when they reach adulthood. Their genders are determined by their scent trails. Males are determined by a black, putrid-scented liquid trail, while females are determined by a red, vinegar-scented gas trail. What units they enter are determined by history, physiology, and general capability. Those in peak physical condition become scouts. Those who are able to stay quiet become assassins. Those who are able to think critically become scientists. And those who have towering stature become walking tanks. Now there's a bunch of stats here I'm gonna go through kind of quickly. Like they have swarms and leaders, skirmishers, command structure, decay shield. So there's little powers and things. So let's see. Swarms, swift traversal. Compared to the fallen, insects in this unit have sleek bodies and are the fastest of all the Heterocera forces. Their ability to quickly navigate the battlefield earns them the role of scouts. Oh, okay, so it's sort of like the hunters, titans, warlocks, or whatever. Let's see, there's the mountain. Abominations grant their military leader with this title. They are the strongest, with thick armor and brutally effective combat technology. The Scalpel are the military leaders of Pinpoint Mark. They are the most intelligent and employ the most advanced technology invented by their crews. The Bane is a toxic fury leader. They only use the deadliest poisons with ease, thanks to their special plague-inducing abilities. Cool. The Rusher, the fastest, armed with dual decay pistols. Pillager, common rifleman, also can throw decay grenades. Stinger has highest vertical movement, flight ability, decay blades, and equipped with a decay shield. Okay, that's kind of cool. Shredder, armed with a decay dispenser that charges and fires high-powered needles to a constant rate of 120 RPM. has heavier armor than other swift traversal troops and equipped with a decay shield. I like that one. Rotter, armed with the decay revolver that fires high-powered poison needles that inflict a toxin which causes slowness, has limited flight capability, and is faster than the other toxic Fury troops. Bombardier, armed with a wrist-mounted decay blaster that launches a cluster of needles, can magically plant down poison clouds and is equipped with a decay shield. Contagion, armed with a decay thrower that spreads large cone of paralyzing gas which leads a potent flame pool if it strikes a surface, has heavier armor. Breacher, armed with a decay revolver, can place down trip mines. Detonations cause blindness. Triggered via laser pointer. Scorpio, armed with decay pistols, fire decay bolts, mortars, can place down turrets. That's it. Recon, accurate needles at a constant rate. Zoner, displacer, decay bolts which travel in an arc and leave acid cloud upon impact, has heavier armor. Abominations, the troll, armed with a dual decay mallets that smash the ground and inflict serious damage and knockback. Destroyer, armed with decay cannon that fires high explosive decay bolts which leave a pool of acid upon detonation, can grab and throw obstacles and opponents with its offhand arms. Alright. Reaper, armed with a decay heavy blaster that fires needles at a blistering rate, using its offhand limbs to hurl high explosive magic blasts that inflict the slowness effect. Okay, and equipped with a decay shield. What? Oh, decay shield must just be like an overshield or something. Because otherwise this Reaper has multiple... Oh, they do have multiple arms, don't they? Gargantula, equipped with a delay shield and is heavier armor than any other Abomination troops, armed with a decay barrier and a decay cluster repeater that fires high explosive decay cluster bolts at a blinding rate of fire. It also has a decay beam function that instantly kills once it locks on. Can smash the ground with its offhand arms, sending out underground shockwaves that travel along the ground and send opponents flying upwards once they make contact. And just to say here, it says Heterocera is a race of moth-like morphs that seek to form an interconnecting empire for survival, as well as drive out those that are contesting on identified territory to claim it as their own. So they were sort of supposed to be like a neutral faction that sort of pops up and you help support their empire in the middle, which I kind of like. I know that Destiny is sci-fi, but I think that most of the powers and abilities can be replaced in Dungeons & Dragons. Well, it can be replaced with Dungeons & Dragons mechanics. And I think that the Moth People Empire would be one that I would support. It's too bad we never got to see them in the game. I mentioned Andromeda at the beginning of this. There are bug people that looks like, kind of like ant people or something like that, but they're sort of like ant and mantis combined. They're the pilots able to react faster than any other races and to fly through this sort of like webway thing, or whatever it's called in Andromeda. All of these paths of hyperspace that can only be navigated by the hyper-aware and overactive bug people. And as such, they became the pilots of the Commonwealth. It's sort of like a big yarn of string, and if you're following one string and then you leave it behind, you're like, I think your ship gets destroyed. So you need someone with like super good reflexes to keep you on the right path through hyperspace or whatever it's called in Andromeda. There are also some cool bugs in the Gore series. I have made a video about Gore already, discussing a little bit of it, so I will put a card up and I will also put something at the end of this video, a link that you can click to learn more about Gore. The bugs in the Gore series are called the Priest Kings, and they can communicate through chemical scents. I always loved the description of their communication, as it made it seem so odd to me that humans communicate through making air vibrate, while the Priest Kings use chemicals to commune. When it comes to insects, you can make any interaction completely alien by just comparing them to humans. I won't say anything more about the Priest Kings of Gore, except that they're giant, 8-foot tall, like, mantis beings with small arms. I'll put the picture up, but they're really cool looking. I've always really liked them, because they play a pivotal part in the Gore series, and I'm not going to spoil anything more. There are also large spiders on the world of Gore that can talk through translation devices they wear upon their necks. For those unaware of the rules of the world of Gore, Gore is the twin planet of Earth that's always on the opposite side of the sun from us, so we never see it. But alien slavers come over to Earth to take what they want and then bring them back to Gore. And this has also been happening on other worlds too. So now Gore is home to a motley mix of aliens, monsters, and men. Very much like the D&D with the Illithids or the Mind Flayer Empire and such happening on Toril instead of the Priest Kings happening on Gore. The only real difference is that Gore is sci-fi, so there's no magic in Gore. But if you want to know more about it, I will put the card up in the corner and the link at the end of the video. So I've talked about bees, ants, fireflies, there are water beetles and titan beetles, there's underwater sea spiders. Insects have strength. They can communicate and organize themselves through sometimes ways unfathomable to us. There are bugs that fly. Small spiders can fly on the wind for miles to get to another location. I'm not sure if you know that. They just sort of spread their legs, or sometimes they actually make a little like parachute with their web, and then they just float on the wind for like 50 miles or something like that. I think of insectoids like lizardmen as far as their personality goes. As many bugs use organic matter as fuel, homes, or places to lay their eggs, I could see them being very neutral and not understanding how they have insulted a human by laying eggs in their dead friend, or dragging their body back to the nest for their kids. The social structure varies with bugs depending on the specific bug, so there could be hordes like the cicadas or locusts, or established empires like the bees or ants, or even roaming tribes. And there are so many bugs that look like many other things. Spiders evolving to look like ants and learning to hold two of their legs on their heads to seem like antennas, and there are so many more that can be just like this. And this is in reality, so imagine that now with magic. Spiders might set up in an alley and use major image to seem like the alley is clear, then when you enter the alley it drops down to capture you. Or a giant bug could cast major image or change form or something like that and make it appear as though it's just a carriage moving down the street. And then you realize the carriage is making no noise, and then the illusion drops and it's a giant spider just walking down the street. I was just looking over grasshoppers and I remembered that they do not have lungs. They have spiracles that bring oxygen in and mix it right into their blood. So I don't know how this would affect them, but it's something to consider, that they breathe through their bodies. So maybe heavy armor isn't the best unless it breathes. But that's only for grasshoppers. I don't know if all bugs have spiracles or not, or just certain types of bugs. It's been a while since I've learned about that. Like, I'm pretty sure arthropods don't have spiracles, do they? Anyways, the more bugs I see, the more appealing character races I see. Check out Z Frank's video on leafhoppers or any of his other bug ones if you want to see some awesome forms and colors. I really suggest it. Like, he really describes how much that evolution has gotten an advantage on making different forms and how much variety there is in insects. I could go on like this all day. Why aren't there playable races of insects in D&D? There should be so many, and there should be insect versions of every type of animal. And I mean insects that mimic every kind of race in D&D. Dwarf mimics, elf mimics, ogre mimics, whatever you could think of. Even mimic mimics, insects that look like obvious mimics. So adventurers go, hey, that treasure chest, look, you see the teeth? That's a mimic. Then they walk away or they turn their back thinking they avoided the trap, and then the chest starts buzzing and reveals that it's a bug meant to look like an obvious mimic to lure in its potential prey. If you think to yourself, I see that that treasure chest is an obvious mimic, and then an 8-foot tall bug unfolds its body and mandibles in your direction, injecting you with poison, you would be freaked out. I mean, you'd go, wait, I know this is a treasure chest mimic, it's probably just gonna stand up and do its mimic thing. Oh no, wait, it's a giant bug? Oh, that would be terrifying. Oh, and poison. That's right, bugs get poison too. They are so OP. Even without magic, these creatures would destroy a playable character race. Imagine a Venomoth with like poison dust. I mean, in real life, tiny bugs can take out full-grown humans with poison, so I couldn't imagine giant versions with a proportionately larger amount of poison. I mean, they could like take down a dragon or something. So, from the Formix of Ender's Game to the Priest Kings of Gore and the Moth People of Destiny, there are many forms that insectoids can take. Bee people, beetle people, and so much more. Fireflies, lightning bugs, water beetles, and other elementally adapted insectoids could have those powers manifest with magic. Imagine poison magic practiced by moths, blood magic by mosquitoes, or just the pure hunger and savagery of a horde of millions of locusts or cicadas bursting forth from the ground to strip all biological material, consuming entire nations and empires in their wake. And don't even get me started on the bot flies or the tsetse flies or wasps or so many things that lay eggs inside of something to provide a meal for the new hatchlings. They would just be awful at like giant size. The life cycle, reproduction, and lifespan of these insects can vary drastically, allowing for empires of well-learned and intelligent creatures, or having short lifespans that don't allow for culture or civilization to form. Termites have been observed living for 50 years, and some people think they can live for up to 100 years. So with magic involved, the lifespans of many of the insectoids could be comparable to our own. So those are the basics. There are plenty of body types to choose from, and plenty of roles to take on. From healer to DPS to tank, I think all roles could be filled by specific insectoid races who might have certain friendships between certain species, or might have bitter rivals or enemies, having wars between certain colonies of insects over location or resources, or even having it be culturally motivated. I don't think any particular class works best with insectoids as they have so many forms. In fact, there are too many forms to choose from, and as such, I think insectoids would make great specialists as they do in real life. So whatever class you can think of, I'm sure there's a bug that fits perfectly. I don't know how insectoids would interact with religion, or devils, or demons, and angels and such. It can be hard to think of insectoids being individuals, but I assume that they would be individuals with preferences that do not align with the majority of their race. These might be unusual cases, or might be the natural result of intelligence, as any other race has had their own variety. But basically, when I think of them interacting with religion, or devils, or demons, or angels, or anything more, I keep thinking of the lizardman thing, just the practicality. So I'll think of them reskinning a lizardman's personality. Now the question, fairies are pretty small, but they are still playable races. Would normal-sized insects be playable races as well? It's only the difference of an enlarge or reduce spell if you want to be technical about it. But I think that smaller insectoids could still exist as well, using enlarge to make themselves appear larger than their race normally is. For example, Mothra might just be, I don't know, a moth that uses enlarge and is magically potent. Like, it could be that simple. Mothra could be a playable character, just instead of like a monster or something. I was actually learning about the, what are they called? The Xenos from Don Maki. That was yesterday's video. I will also put a card up in the corner or a link at the end. And it talks about how the monsters from Don Maki that gain intelligence become something called Xenos. So I could imagine insectoid races being purely intelligent things that you can just choose, like an Aarakocra or whatever. Or I could imagine certain insectoids from these races gaining intelligence. So whichever way you want to do it, if you want your being to come from a race similar to it with a culture and a civilization and a society, or if you want to make it like this spider just got smart or something, you can do whatever you like. And with evolution, magic, and gods, there are so many forms insectoids can take, and so many powers that they can hold. So, that was Insectoids. I'm really surprised that there are not more playable insectoid races in Dungeons & Dragons, and that there aren't empires of them stretching across Toril and beyond, ruling the sea, sky, land, and all of the elements. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed and you found something new to think and daydream about. I wanted to do a really good overview of the options for insectoids, as I believe they're a really great option for players to use in D&D. Leave this video a like if you want me to make a part 2 or anything connecting to this. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more to talk about here. Subscribe for daily content. I make a new video every day, and leave any questions or suggestions in the comments below, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching.